Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols for Tailored Expressions. I have a set of holiday cards to share with you today that I put together using a technique that we here at Tailored Expressions like to call happy half sheets. For my set of cards, I'll be using the new Make It Merry stamp set and the coordinating dies. I'm using the Holly Leaves and Berry dies from the Peppermint Kisses collection, and I'm using the Knock on Wood background stamp. For ink colors, I'm using mulled wine, honey, cilantro, and Jalapeño. I'm also using Sugar Cube and Nocturne VersaFine Clair. For splatters, I've got a water brush, Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White ink, and Chocolate Truffle liquid watercolor. I'm using Bits and Pieces red glitter drops and multi-medium matte. And finally, I'll be using the Happy Half Sheets Volume 2 maps. The maps include different ways to cut apart your half sheet of cardstock and the different card layouts that you can create. The concept of Happy Half Sheet starts with a half sheet of cardstock. I have a piece of Toffee Cardstock that I've cut in half, so it measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I put the piece of Toffee Cardstock into my MISTI, and then I'm using the Make It Merry set to add the pattern. Whenever I am stamping an all-over pattern, I'm going to choose the largest image to start with first. In this case, it's the large tree in the set. I'm stamping this on Toffee Cardstock using Cilantro ink. I'm stamping the tree multiple times across the piece of Toffee Cardstock, rotating the tree as I go because I want to create a print that doesn't have a direction to it. That means I want to be able to turn the piece of cardstock in any direction and the pattern will still work. I'm leaving space between the trees so that I have room to add my other images. And I'm also using the rule of threes, stamping the trees so they create triangle type formations. Using the design rule of threes will help make your pattern more visually appealing. The next image from the Make It Merry stamp set that I chose to use is the present, and I'm stamping that with mulled wine ink. I'm adding the presents in between the stamped trees, turning the present different directions as I go. You'll also notice that I'm making sure to have images stamped that go off the edge of the cardstock. Move your cardstock within your MISTI, both side to side and up and down, using the magnet to hold it in place so you can stamp those images exactly where you want them. Next up is the skinny tree. I'm stamping this tree with Jalapeño ink. As you're stamping your design, don't forget to pay attention and leave space for the images that you have yet to add to your design. The stocking image is next, and I'm stamping that with honey ink. As your design gets more full with patterns, you'll have to decide whether you're okay with images overlapping or not. For the pattern I'm creating here, in general, I had my images maybe touching but not overlapping in big ways. It's totally up to you if you want your images to touch, to overlap, or maybe you want to leave space between everything. The next image I'm using is the holly, and I'm stamping that with Jalapeño ink. The final main image from the Make It Merry stamp set that I'm using is the candy cane, and I'm stamping the candy cane with mulled wine ink. Since this is one of the smallest images and the last main image that I'm using in my pattern, I'm filling in all of the possible spaces for the candy cane to fit in. The final touch on my pattern is using the 3 small star and sparkle images in the set. I'm arranging all 3 stamps onto the pattern at the same time and stamping them with Sugar Cube ink. Small images like these add the perfect detail. They fit into all of those little small spaces and they really can help pull your pattern together. For my project, I let these small images overlap onto my stamped pattern. The tiny stars and sparkles stamped in Sugar Cube ink really added a fun snowy effect to my holiday design. Here's a look at the completed pattern on the half sheet of cardstock. I would definitely call this a happy half sheet. I added splatters to my pattern using Chocolate Truffle liquid watercolor and Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White ink. I picked up the color with a water brush and then tapped the brush over my finger to add the splatters. I'm using the Happy Half Sheet maps as a guide to cut my cardstock apart to use on my cards. For each Happy Half Sheet map design, there is a guide on how to cut your cardstock apart that includes measurements. There are card layout ideas that you can use with the pieces of cardstock that you cut out with that map, along with a suggested color combination. I'm going to cut my cardstock apart using the map I just showed you, which is a map that I designed. I'm starting with piece number 2, which is 3 1/4 by 5.5 inches, which means I'm cutting in 3 1/4 inches from the right side of my patterned half sheet. Next, for piece number 1, I'm cutting 1.5 inches off of the top that I have left. That gives me a piece that is 1.5 by 5.25 inches. For pieces number 3 and 4, I'll be cutting them apart along a diagonal. I'm making a mark with my pen along the bottom edge 1 inch in from the right side, and on the top edge 1 inch in from the left side. I lined up my paper in my paper cutter, and I cut a line connecting these two marks. Now that my pieces are cut, it's time to put my cards together. Using the card layouts on the map, I laid out each of the pattern pieces onto Jalapeño card bases. I also got my sentiments ready. These are from the Make It Merry stamp set. They're stamped with Nocturne VersaFine Clair ink on sugar cube cardstock and cut out with the coordinating dies. To embellish each card, I cut out holly leaves from Cilantro cardstock and berries from Mulled wine cardstock. For a tone-on-tone look to add texture to the card bases, I stamped them with a knock-on-wood background stamp using Jalapeño ink. I added the pattern pieces, the sentiments, and the holly to each card using my tape runner. And then the final touch is bits and pieces red glitter drops added to the holly berries with multimedia matte. My cards are done. I love how they look, and I love how easily they came together using the Happy Half Sheet technique. Creating with Happy Half Sheets is great for mass production for the holidays and other times of the year too. I hope you're inspired to try this technique out for yourself. All of the supplies that I used to create my cards can be found in the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our crafty videos.